Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from Frontier. Thank you for stopping by. I'd like to thank Uche of CGTN, newly minted name, previously CCTV, for having me on her business show. We were talking about here at the events in Kenya, and then earlier on I spoke with Bonnie Tunya of CNBC. In that video they've actually posted it, so if you care to have a listen. Essentially, there was a very strong reaction in the markets. Eurobond yields fell sharply, the shilling was stable, and the stock market surged to a two-year high. And I was touching on those points in the context of the uncertainty that we are currently seeing. And Bonnie's always great to speak with, so thank you, in a newly minted office in CBS Plaza. Macro thoughts, dollar yen. Take a look at this chart. This is from T commodity, 109.95. Everyone's looking here for 108. Heightened, sharpened tail risks, and looking for the yen to rally sharply, which is a knee-jerk reaction. It's like gold. But I, for one, am not convinced about that. I think we're headed to 112. US bond yields in particular, I think, are headed higher, notwithstanding a big counter-trend rally yesterday in bond prices. Celebrate World Lion Day. These were 3 photos I took less than a week ago in the Mara. The first was one of 2 brothers that we came across. Apparently they'd invaded and decapitated the previous head of Pride, taken it over, and this was one of them. And then the second photograph is of a scene we came across as we drove into the Mara Triangle. 4 lionesses had felled Cape Buffalo, and that's no mean feat. And this photograph is of them still feasting on it. And then finally a lioness with 2 cubs, and we followed them around for a little bit, and it was such fun, I must say. On that note, let me put up Ochre and Red on Red 1962, Mark Rothko. They must be my favourite paintings. I wish I could afford them. It's so comforting to have the older girls at home. They've both spent their first year at university, and the Mathaika Club in particular is filled to the brim with all these girls who come back, and boys, but I don't know the boys. And without doubt are more mature. Hannah, who adores her older sisters, is of course trailing them everywhere. They of course do ask some difficult questions like, Dad, do you have a plan if things go pear-shaped? And I said, look, darling, it won't. A lot of folks are out of town. It's been a joy speeding through this city at any time, in point of fact. And that took me, I tweeted this morning, speeding through half-deserted streets, and I was referring to one of my favorite poems, the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock. Let us go, then you and I, when the evening is spread out against the sky, like a patient etherized upon a table. Let us go through certain half-deserted streets, the muttering retreats of restless nights and one-night cheap hotels, and sawdust restaurants with oyster shells. Streets that follow like a tedious argument of insidious intent to lead you to an overwhelming question. Oh, do not ask, what is it? Let us go and make our visit. And now I'm going to jump and cut a lot out of the poem, which is a travesty really. And indeed there will be time to wonder, do I dare, time to turn back and descend to the stair. With a bald spot in the middle of my hair, they will say how his hair is growing thin, my morning coat, my collar mounting firmly to the chin, my necktie rich and modest, but asserted by a simple pin. They will say, but how his arms and legs are thin. Do I dare disturb the universe in a minute? There is time for decisions and revisions, which in a minute will reverse. I grow old, I shall wear the bottoms of my trousers rolled. Shall I part my hair behind? Not a problem I face. Do I dare to eat a peach? The best I've ever eaten were in Turkey. Do I dare eat a peach? I shall wear white flannel trousers and walk upon the beach. I have heard the mermaids singing each to each. I do not think they will sing to me. I have seen them riding seaward on the waves, combing the white hair of the waves blown back when the wind blows the water white and black. We have lingered in the chambers of the sea by seagulls wreathed with seaweed red and brown, till human voices wake us and we drown. And then another Mark Rothko, Orange and Yellow, which I like. Political reflections, it has become a global ritual. You wake up each morning and grab your phone to catch up on the latest episode of The Trump Show. Indeed. And we'll come to that in a moment. North Korea threatened to attack the US territory of Guam just after President Trump's fire and fury warning. North Korea says sound dialogue not possible with such a guy, bereft of reason, and only absolute force can work on him. Lookups for bereft are spiking after North Korea called President Trump a guy bereft of reason. The New York Times is asking, is Trump deploying the madman theory with North Korea? And then I like this, President Trump is said to receive a folder of positive news articles about himself twice a day. Then going back to that article in the FT, it has become a global ritual. You wake up each morning and grab your phone to catch up on the latest episode of The Trump Show. The addictive reality TV series, which character has been humiliated, investigated, or sacked. This has been the most distracting political year of my lifetime, and potentially the most dangerous. It's not only Trump's fault. After all, we are the viewers. People in reality TV admire Trump as an astute professional. In 2015, after US TV audiences began to fall, he jumped to politics and put on a new show. This is not a metaphor. He still thinks like a reality performer. Reality TV perches between fiction and non-fiction, which is the spot where Trump feels happiest. Reality shows have scripted plots or formats, but partially real characters. Trump, several of whose companies have been bankrupted, played a successful businessman on TV, and so viewers could imagine him playing one in the White House. Season 1 of Trump's political show was the presidential campaign. It used the standard industry format known as reality competition, kicking the other contestants off the island only with bigger stakes, the presidency, and A-list celebrities who really consent to appear on reality TV. In Season 2, Trump is improvising a new format. It largely dispenses with boring political characters, especially now that Congress probably won't pass any major bills. Instead, the cast consists of Trump's relatives who can't be kicked out of Trump world, and his posse who can. The relatives were born into the show, so they understand Trump has to be the star. But some posse members fail to grasp what genre they're appearing in. John Kelly, for instance, imagines he is Mr. Trump's chief of staff, whereas, in fact, he's the Trump show's new marine general character. But they're all dispensable characters. The ideal star of a reality series is an uninhibited narcissist, who gradually reveals the inner reaches of his personality. As the reality TV producer Troy DeVolid explained in 2013, that's when celebrity casting works for me. When you actually get to see who somebody is beneath who you thought they were when they came into it. The Trump show is broadcast non-stop on both social media and TV, so its pace is unprecedented. Judged as entertainment, it's vastly superior to the Barack Obama series, whereas all other TV shows are now niche. This one appeals to all demographics. When Trump defenestrated his latest communications chief, I heard a 9-year-old excitedly shout, "Scaramucci's fired." But they tend to misunderstand the conventions of the genre and accuse Trump of lying when in fact he's performing in a show. They also complain he doesn't have a concentration span. Of course he doesn't. In reality TV, if you spend a few minutes developing complexity, the audience switches off. The broader problem is that we viewers, the smartphone generation raised in peacetime, have no concentration spans either. Trump is the fitting president for our era. No wonder that another merchant of distraction, Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg, thinks he can be president next. Some liberals worry that Trump is distracting us in order to implement some master plan, such as bringing fascism to America. He isn't. Trump doesn't care about policy, though some people in Trump world do. He's a lowbrow entertainer, so he produces lowbrow entertainment. Police used tear gas to disperse a small crowd of protesters in Kisumu. This is from Tristan McConnell, the photograph. And then Maggie Fig tweeted this: "No Raila, no peace, yellow Odinga supporters in Kisumu before armed officers fire tear gas to disperse them." Nairobi remains quite quiet. A lot of people have stayed at home still, and I'll come to that when I get down to the Kenya section. Let's go to international markets, currency markets, euro, dollar, 117.27. Dollar index above that key level I've spoken about so frequently of 93.50 at 93.67. Dollar yen 109.95, Swiss franc 0.9663, the pound 129.70. The Australian dollar is at 0.7877. India rupee 63.945, South Korean won, which has softened up with the heating up of the peninsula 1142.06, Brazilian real 315.56, Egyptian pound 17.775, and the rand 13.4604. But as I've said about the rand, I think President Zuma is now mortally wounded, and therefore you need to scale in, because when he is terminated, it's going to just rally like crazy. Dollar index, I'll put up a 3-month chart. We're above that key pivot level I've previously spoken about of 93.50. Euro versus the dollar, let's take a look at that. 117.25 last. I think we're headed down to 114.50 at this moment in time. Commodity markets, let's take a look at that. Crude oil, last trading at $49.95. I think it's topping here and it's going to reverse. But picking that reversal point is like trying to catch a dagger. Gold, I'll put up a 6-month chart. We're at 1278.80. Geopolitics and tail risks refer to that price move. Sub-Saharan Africa, the dead city policy has never come up with the hoped-for results, said Alexander, owner of a fish store in DR Congo. My business is shut. I've lost clients. The economy is on its knees, he said. And this is the price that President Kabila is exacting from the DR Congo for his continued presence and refusal to hold an election. Africa's voters are ready for democracy, says David Pilling in the FT. Africa's leaders may not be ready for democracy, but its people certainly are. And he's talking about the commitment to the vote that I've spoken about yesterday. People queuing from the early hours. Zambia's president opposition leader to hold talks, mediator says. President Edgar Lungu and jailed opposition leader Hakainde Hichilema have agreed to hold talks to resolve their political differences. A Commonwealth official said the discussions will be facilitated by the Office of the Commonwealth. Hichilema has been in prison for over 100 days on treason charges, and Lungu invoked emergency measures last month after a fire in the southern African country's biggest market. The opposition leader has refused to accept Lungu as the winner of last year's elections, which he claims were rigged. South African all shares up 10.52% this year, just marginally off record territory. The rand goes from being the best performer to being the laggard as Zuma wins his vote. The vote can hardly be expected to be a shocker for any market participant. Would have to be big to have any market impact, as everybody who currently holds long rand positions should be prepared for some volatile political news flow. This is a photograph of the courtyard at Robben Island Prison, South Africa, in the mid-1960s. Caught my attention. The Nigerian all shares up an eye-popping 41.93% this year, and actually this trend has been seen across the continent. The Ghana Stock Exchange is up 34.73% so far this year. Now, let's get to Kenya, which is interesting trying to pull it together. Our system is secure, the IEBC CEO Ezra Chiloba said late last night, rejecting NASA's hacking claim. Raila Odinga has alleged that hackers infiltrated the Electoral Commission's computer system to manipulate a presidential election after provisional results showed Uhuru Kenyatta on course for victory. Mr. Kenyatta, the incumbent, has secured 54.3%, I said 54, of the vote after results from about 96% of polling stations has been declared. Odinga said some persons conspired and executed a scheme to deny Kenyans the democratic right to elect their leaders. From the information in our possession, some persons gained entry into the IEBC election management database and assumed the role of our collective sovereign. Chiloba rejected Mr. Odinga's claim. He said there was no external interference in the management system before, during, or after the election. Based on our own study, we're comfortable where we are. Thabo Beki, who is here in the capacity of an observer under the AU, says it seems that the IEBC Kenya has discharged its responsibilities according to law and regulations. He also said party agents were present during the voting as well as during the counting, verifying the ballots. The IEBC chairman, Wafula Chebukati, said, "I cannot say whether or not the system has been hacked." Bloomberg is reporting how Kenyatta's provisional win will soothe those investors who feared a leftist shift in economic policy. That's what I was talking about when I was calling it bifurcated outcome. And then is saying that the most important issues are ahead of us. Does Odinga concede peacefully? His initial rhetoric suggests there is a risk he does not. And was talking about that leftist shift. As I said to the Wall Street Journal, from an economic perspective, this is a pivot election. It could produce a very bifurcated outcome. And I was also saying that there was a tsunami of money that would flood into Kenya if this election can be pulled off well. Investors too busy cheering Uhuru Kenyatta to fret about vote spat. Euphoria over a President Uhuru Kenyatta win, even if the election results are preliminary, boosted the nation's stocks by the most in Africa and sent Kenya's dollar bonds higher. NSE 25 index advanced as much as 2.7%, at the highest level in 2 years. The yield on the euro bonds fell the most since March, and the shilling was little changed. And I said the markets are seeing this accusation of massive hacking as a red herring. And the point is that the market reaction is quite violently there's been a big bounce, and in part it goes back to the time of the Eurobond, when the opposition accused the Federal Reserve Bank of being a conspirator with individuals in the Kenya government to steal money, Kenya taxpayers' money, and the accusation was pointed squarely at the Federal Reserve. And at that point, a lot of people thought, hang on a second, that one is not possible. And I think that also credibility, failure to really understand what the argument should have been at that time, the Eurobond story. If money was wasted, it was not stolen at that level. It was stolen at the ministerial level, and to have lost sight of that and made these rather wild accusations is counterproductive. And I think that's why the market is reacting by discounting these comments so dramatically. There is no smoking gun, and hence the positive reaction. President Kenyatta and Kenya's free market credentials are burnished by what was a very well-conducted election. And I was saying I expect a serious upwards re-rating at the stock exchange if the shilling will remain robust. Dollar bond yields declined 18 basis points to 6.3%, which is quite a dramatic move. So Raila Odinga is alleging hackers acted to create a constant gap of 11% between him and President Kenyatta. And this is an interesting statistical point he's making, and a good one. And then take a look at this Kenya correlation analysis that I came across from competitors with an extra S. However, the problem is Odinga posted 50 pages of computer logs online to support his hacking claims, and they were entirely inconclusive and in some cases factually incorrect by saying that it was a Microsoft server when it's an Oracle one. And this is again denuded their bona fides. These are relatively simple things to have cross-checked. And I think it is that failure that's not been helpful. Tensions soar in Nairobi's Mathare slum district as Kenyan opposition leader Raila Odinga alleges widespread vote rigging. This is from AFP. It's a video, so take a look if you wanted to gain a flavour. Riot police deployed after demonstrators set tires on fire in Kisumu. That's from Proper Voice. And then this, so somehow a Feel the Burn t-shirt ended up in Kenya's post-election riots, image through NRC. Very interesting article in the LA Times, worth a read. China has conquered Kenya. Inside Beijing's new strategy to win African hearts and minds. It's a long article, but very worthwhile to read if you've got a moment. Kenya shilling, 103.95. I'm not expecting a rally in the shilling, but I'm expecting to stay stable. There are plenty of naysayers out there, but it really is a very alpha currency. Those reasons we can discuss another time. Nairobi all-share stormed 1.08% high yesterday. It's up 20.4% year to date. NSE 20 up 0.83% yesterday, up 20.84% year to date. Wishing you a safe day, back at work, preferably, I suppose.